Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12.
Oh, okay. But she initially got ready, and I realized that she just had her purse packed and not her other stuff. And I said, "Oh, honey, you need to take your other stuff with you."
Yeah.
She didn't complain, but she wasn't too happy about it.
Yeah.
The time is 10 a.m.
Thank you for tuning into the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Brandy, and I'm here with Christina. We invite you to listen to our broadcast both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.
Springfield Daily Citizen, man sentenced to prison for calling Harmony House more than 1,000 times with threats and demands. Philip Bates repeatedly called the domestic violence shelter, demanding to speak with someone he believed was staying there, by Jackie Rewald. The Springfield man who admitted to calling Harmony House more than 1,000 times and causing domestic violence shelter to enact an emergency shutdown earlier this year will soon be headed to prison. Philip Andrew Bates, 32, pleaded guilty in May to the Class D felony of first-degree terrorist threat. According to online court records, Bates, who has been in the Greene County Jail since March, was sentenced on Thursday, July 9th, to 3 years in a Missouri Department of Corrections prison by Judge Katie Greenway. Harmony House is Greene County's only shelter for victims of domestic violence and their children. Because of Bates' repeated calls and threats, the shelter went into emergency shutdown in March, which meant the shelter implemented several extra security measures. Pictured is the Betty and Bobby Allison Harmony House. It is a brick building with several windows and some windows on the side as well as the front for their entrance. According to the probable cause statement, Bates repeatedly called the shelter's hotline, requesting to speak with an individual he believed to be staying there. Harmony House staff does not confirm whether an individual is staying there. When Bates was rebuffed, he began making suicidal statements, such as telling the call taker he would crash his semi-truck and kill himself. Criminal history includes numerous stalking and harassment charges. After Springfield police were notified about what was happening, an officer called Bates and told him to stop calling the hotline. He agreed he would stop calling, and he stated he just wanted to speak with a female there, the officer wrote in the report. According to the statement, Bates called Harmony House's crisis line over 1,300 times between March 7th and March 11th. Among the threats documented by Harmony House staff, Bates warned call takers, "Y'all ain't safe in that building, and I'm coming for y'all." When contacted by a detective, he eventually admitted he messed up and wanted to turn himself in. The detective who wrote the probable cause statement included a summary of Bates' criminal history, which includes multiple charges and convictions for harassment, violating orders of protection, and stalking, by Jackie Rewald. She is a reporter at the Springfield Daily Citizen. She covers public safety, the courts, homelessness, domestic violence, and other social issues. Her office line is 417-837-3659.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Total Point urgent care clinics in Springfield and Nixa close abruptly. Employees say they were laid off. Total Point Care is owned by the same private equity company that owns Beefaroo. It appears to be in financial distress, by Zoe McIntyre. The Total Point urgent care clinics in Springfield and Nixa abruptly closed in early July after the company stopped sending paychecks and later instituted a company-wide layoff, according to former employees. My main concern is the patients, because they were used to coming in and seeing us and getting their medications and getting their treatment, and there was no notice sent out to them. They were just like, put a sign on the door and close up, said Leah Bailey, a physician's assistant of 27 years who worked at the Nixa clinic. Bailey's accounts were corroborated by another former employee who contacted the Daily Citizen but did not want to go on record as a source for this report. Total Point Care is backed by Elysian Capital Incorporated, the same Dallas-based private equity company that owns the Beefaroo chain of hamburger restaurants, according to a real estate listing for the Springfield Clinic property and an online archive of Elysian Capital's portfolio. Springfield Beefaroo employees reportedly walked off the job in June after missing 2 paychecks. The restaurant at 3312 East Chestnut Expressway is now closed, and the landlord has sued Beefaroo and Elysian Capital for allegedly owing almost $64,000 in unpaid rent. Elysian Capital has also been sued multiple times in Dallas County, Texas, for allegedly failing to honor its lease agreement on the Total Point Urgent Care Clinic at 1029 South Campbell Avenue in Springfield. When a reporter visited the Total Point Urgent Care Clinic at 1029 South Campbell Avenue on July 13th, Signs on the door stated that the location was closed due to corporate unforeseen circumstances. A sign on the door of the Nixa Clinic at 1919 Fritz Lane on Monday stated that the location was closed due to corporate issues and hoped to reopen July 6th, although that evidently did not happen. Total Point Care was founded in Dallas, Texas by Vijaya Karki and Jeff Love, according to the company's site. Love is the CEO of Rakanati Equity Incorporated, doing business as Elysian Capital. Total Point Care has urgent care clinics in Springfield, Nixa, Branson, and Hollister, as well as several urgent care clinics and one ER in Texas, the website states. Bailey stated that Total Point Care staff received communications from Chief Operating Officer Sean Astolfo after the first payroll disruption in June. He was still wanting us to come in and work the clinics before the layoff, even though we weren't getting paid, just to keep business going, I guess, Bailey said. But a lot of the providers and the assistants, they didn't want to go in if they weren't getting paid. The Nixa Clinic was last open on July 2nd, Bailey said. She provided the Daily Citizen with several emails Total Point Care employees received from the company's leadership. In a message dated June 24th, an email from Astolfo stated the company would be picking up all the cash from the clinics and warned employees not to take any of the money. He apologized to employees for missing paychecks in a message dated June 27th, stating, "Today, every clinic is operating in the red, and we are actively working to change that. This is not a situation where funds are available and simply not being distributed." Total Point Care's Human Resources Department announced a company-wide layoff on July 7th, according to an email provided by Bailey. Effective today, all employees, including members of the leadership team, are being laid off. This decision affects every level of the organization and was made only after all other available options have been exhausted, the message stated. Astolfo, Love, Total Point Care, and Elysian Capital did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Company sued multiple times for unpaid rent on Springfield Clinic. Elysian Capital is in arrears to the tune of at least $59,426 for the lease on the Total Point Urgent Care at 1029 South Campbell Avenue and $63,845.33 for the lease on the Beefaroo at 3312 East Chestnut Expressway, according to lawsuits filed in Dallas County, Texas, and Greene County, Missouri, respectively. Property management companies, EVF Campbell Avenue LLC and EVF Lindale LLC, have sued Your Choice Healthcare LLC, Elysian Capital, and Jeffrey Love 3 times for allegedly failing to honor lease agreements on the Springfield property and another property in Lindale, Texas. The plaintiffs filed to dismiss each of the previous lawsuits in 2024 and 2025. In May 2026, the landlord sued Elysian Capital again. Right It Real Estate, LLC, owner of the 3312 East Chestnut Expressway Beefaroo property, sued Elysian Capital, Love, and Beefaroo in July 2026. Zoe McIntyre covers Springfield's surrounding communities like Nixa, Ozark, and Republic. McIntyre is an Evangel University alum and lifelong resident of the Springfield area. Contact her at zmcintyre@sjfcitizen.org.
Springfield News Leader. Former Springfield Councilwoman challenges Gregg for State House seat, by Marta Mees. A former Springfield Councilwoman is challenging State Rep. Jamie Gregg for the District 140 House seat in the upcoming primary election August 4th. Angelo Romine, a small local business owner, will run against Gregg on the Republican ballot in August to vie for the House seat representing Christian County. Whoever wins in the August primary will face Democrat Julia Curran of Nixa in the November election. Who is Jamie Gregg? Gregg also has 2 terms under his belt, being elected in 2022. He also owns and operates Ozark Mountain Tops and Artworks, a woodworking business. From his time as a representative, he told the News Leader his voting record is a highlight. "Whatever I vote for is for the family unit, because I believe if you take care of the family, you're ultimately taking care of all the other issues that surround the concerns of the state," Gregg said, mentioning employment, education, and taxes as examples. Gregg said one main focus has been the fatherhood bill, which would create the Missouri Fathership Project within the state's Department of Social Services to help fund positions at community organizations to support dads wanting to foster better relationships with their children. This past session, the bill passed in the House but failed to gain support in Senate committee. Pictured is Jamie Gregg, and he is wearing a plaid button-down shirt, and he has tailored hair that is brown, kind of swooping to the right, to the left, and then he has a goatee that is peppered. The bill helps fathers that want to be dads that have a lot of roadblocks when it comes to being dads, Gregg said, noting that while the bill focuses on fathers, it is ultimately geared at helping kids succeed by having both parents in their lives. Beyond continuing to advocate for the father bill, he also has ideas for legislative changes to the foster system, education reform, and initiative petition changes. As the incumbent, Gregg said he has already established relationships and knowledge base that helps get things done. Who is Angela Romine? Romine is a massage therapist and owns Halo Massage and Wellness. She briefly served on Springfield City Council until vacating her seat in 2022 to challenge the state Senator Lincoln Huff for his Missouri Senate seat. Romine told the newsletter being a small business owner during the COVID-19 pandemic is what opened her eyes to local and state politics and motivated her to seek elected office. Before settling in the Ozarks, Romine served in the military for 3 years. She moved to Christian County in August and said she is running for Gregg's seat because she has heard dissatisfaction and a desire for change from the local constituent base. Among the pieces of legislation that motivated her to run was the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which would bar state and local law enforcement agencies from enforcing federal gun laws. Gregg was among the majority on the House General Laws Committee to vote against the law this spring, which, according to Missouri Independent reporting, was because of his discussions with local law enforcement. Romine said she disagreed with this. I truly believe that the Second Amendment is basically the foundation of all our rights, because if we can't protect them, then you lose them all, she said. She said her top priorities are strengthening public education by ensuring schools cover the country's true history and the role the Bible has played in America's establishment, as well as focusing on finding ways to scale back government regulation and taxation on local businesses and Missouri residents. While she does not believe the Bible itself needs to be taught in school, she said the context of history and the role religion played is important. Angela Romine, owner of Halo Massage and Wellness, will run against incumbent Rep. Jamie Gregg in the Republican primary for the State House District 140 seat in the August 4th, 2026 election. She is pictured looking up towards the camera. She has curly hair that is pulled back. She is wearing very light makeup. And wearing a black suit coat with a coral-colored blouse and a pearl-style necklace that is tied in a knot on the chest and hanging low. It's to make sure that people understand that, our Constitution says our rights come from our Creator. It's not the documents that give us the rights or the government that gives us the rights, Romine said. So if we understand that fundamental principle, then we won't trust government to tell us which rights are okay and which ones are not, because it's not given to us by man, it's given to us by our Creator. Romine also recognizes the need to even the playing field in custody battles or in parental disputes for fathers to be treated equally, but does not think a government program is the right way to address those issues. There's things that we can do to strengthen the father's rights, but I don't believe in actually creating a government program to teach fathers how to be good fathers, she said. I think that's the role of the church. Where the candidates stand on data centers, affordability. Both candidates largely align on the subject of data centers. Gregg said it was essential to protect the state's resources, particularly water resources. He supported a moratorium to allow time for more research into where data centers can be built and the best ways to develop them without a detrimental impact to residents. We just don't know what data centers will do to that resources of ours, Gregg said. You can't drink data centers. You can only drink good water. Romine said it's important for locals to engage their county commissioners and local elected leaders to ensure they have a plan to address concerns surrounding data centers. She said that while communities cannot prevent data centers from moving in altogether, they can ensure it is done in a responsible way. Rising prices are not unique to Missouri, yet legislators in Jefferson City have at least some power to influence how expensive life in the Show Me State is. Romine said that a lot of the frustration she has heard from local residents involves dissatisfaction legislators' lack of action, despite Missouri's Republican supermajority and the continuous woes of the state budget. While she admits she is just one voice in a larger system, Romine said being willing to engage with people, regardless whether you disagree, is essential to work effectively. Those conversations, she said, are also a part of educating constituents about how certain policy decisions relate to others, such as minimum wage to the cost of goods and rental prices. Romine said the system is broken because the U.S. operates as a crony capitalist system, not a free market as most believe. The closer the economy can get to a free market, the better it would be, she said. There is no easy fix, Romine said, but less regulation and less influence of special interests would help. She also pointed to the state's system of business personal property, which said hurts small businesses the most. Recently, Springfield City Council enacted a local ordinance that requires personal property receipts for business licenses, as the state requirement otherwise does not have an enforcement mechanism. We're wondering why the small mom and pop shops are bleeding out and shuttering their doors, because we're so overregulated and so taxed out of existence, really, Romine said. To help with affordability for everyday Missourians, Gregg has signed on to ask Governor Mike Kehoe to suspend the gas tax as prices at the pump have risen since the war in Iran started. While that is a small measure, he said he plans to take a more proactive approach to finding any opportunity to help Missouri families survive amid a persisting affordability crisis. Marta Meese covers local government at the News Leader. Have feedback, tips, or story ideas? Contact her at mmieze@news-leader.com.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Teen charged as an adult in robbery where elderly woman was shot. Authorities say Ryder Lindeman and Timothy Kirby donned ski masks and entered a Battlefield home on January 1st, 2026, and demanded money from an elderly woman. When she refused, Kirby allegedly shot her. The victim survived but was seriously injured. By Jackie Rewald. There's a picture of a red brick one-story building and a flagpole with an American flag and a Missouri state flag on it, and a gray SUV in the parking lot. This is the Battlefield Police Department, located at 5021 South State Highway FF in Battlefield. Photo by Jackie Rewald. A 17-year-old who had previously been charged as a juvenile for his alleged role in New Year's Day robbery that left elderly woman seriously injured with a gunshot wound has been certified to stand trial as an adult. Ryder D. Lindeman, 17, of Republic, is facing the Class B felonies of first-degree attempted robbery and first-degree burglary, as well as 2 counts of armed criminal action. Lindeman's co-defendant, 18-year-old Timothy Kirby, is charged with multiple felonies, including the Class A felony of first-degree assault, 3 counts of armed criminal action, second-degree assault, and first-degree burglary. Kirby and Lindeman were both taken into custody soon after the alleged home invasion occurred on January 1st, 2026. Kirby's been held in the Greene County Jail, while Lindeman is in the Greene County Juvenile Detention Center, where he will remain until he turns 18. Lindeman was not named in previous news stories because authorities did not name him in the original charging documents due to his status as a juvenile. Victim shot in front of her grandchild. According to the charging documents, Kirby and Lindeman broke into a Battlefield residence around 4 p.m. January 1st and demanded money from a juvenile. Police say that Kirby then assaulted the juvenile victim before shooting the juvenile victim's grandmother. The grandmother was transported to the hospital where she had surgery, which resulted in her kidney and spleen being removed. In a request for a warrant, the prosecutor wrote that Lindeman and Kirby are believed to have orchestrated a home invasion of the victim after learning that the victim had recently received an inheritance involving cash and jewelry. There's a picture of a young adult with short brown hair and a black T-shirt in front of the gray wall. It's Timothy Kirby, provided by the Greene County Jail. Kirby and Lindeman allegedly entered the victim's home through the garage wearing ski masks and brandishing firearms. One had what appeared to be an AR-15 and the other had what appeared to be an AK-47 style rifle. According to charging documents, Kirby demanded money from the victim, and when she wouldn't provide him with any, he shot her in the abdomen in front of juveniles who were present in the home. Kirby then allegedly struck one of the juveniles with a firearm. Both suspects then fled the house. According to the probable cause statement, officers located Kirby within 2 blocks of the crime scene, and the AK-47 style rifle was located nearby. Kirby allegedly had 2 ski masks in his pocket. Lindeman was also located and taken into custody near the crime scene, and pieces of an AR-15 style rifle were found nearby. According to the statement, Lindeman admitted to officers he was present during the incident and saw Kirby shoot the victim. Kirby and Lindemann are being held without bond. Jackie Rewald is a reporter at the Springfield Daily Citizen. She covers public safety, the courts, homelessness, domestic violence, and other social issues. Her office line is 417-837-3659.
Springfield News Leader, Rural Missouri Center of Fight Over Amendment 4, Citizen Ballot Power, by Jason Hancock, Missouri Independent. Supporters of Amendment 4 say it would give rural Missouri a stronger voice. Antoine Rhodes said it would take one away. Rhodes lives in Waynesville, a Pulaski County town of about 5,600 just outside Fort Leonard Wood, where he settled after retiring from the U.S. Army. He is a realtor in South Central Missouri and treasurer of the Missouri Association of Realtors, the organization bankrolling the campaign against the August 4th ballot measure. To Rhodes, Amendment 4 is not rural Missouri's answer to urban political power. It is a proposal that would make it harder for Missourians in small towns and big cities alike to use the initiative process when politicians in Jefferson City refuse to act. You basically are giving it up, Rhodes said. If you give up your constitutional right, your voice would not be heard. That argument is emerging as the central fault line in the final weeks before voters decide Amendment 4. Who actually speaks for rural Missouri and the small towns outside the state's largest cities? Yes on 4, protect our Constitution, www.freedomprinciplemmo.org is the picture of a sign on somebody's lawn. A sign promoting Amendment 4, which would change the way majorities are tallied for constitutional amendments proposed by initiative petition. Supporters, including rural Republicans and the Missouri Farm Bureau, argue the initiative petition process has allowed expensive campaigns powered by out-of-state money and urban voters to rewrite the state constitution over the objections of much of rural Missouri. When something only passes in St. Louis, Columbia, Kansas City, and Springfield, that should tell you something, said Doug Kerr, chairman of the Knox County Republican Central Committee. And look at what it's got us in the rest of the state. Recent citizen-led initiatives has expanded Medicaid, legalized recreational marijuana, approved sports betting, and added abortion rights to the Missouri Constitution. Each passed statewide. Each was opposed by much of rural Missouri. Our voices are not being heard, Kerr said. We're not just a democracy, we are a democratic republic, and the rights of the minority should at least be heard, and right now they're not. Opponents, including some small-town realtors now campaigning against the measure, reject the idea that Amendment 4 protects rural voters. They say it would do the opposite, making harder for them to use the initiative process when they disagree with lawmakers. The proposal would require citizen-led constitutional amendments to win not only a statewide majority, but also a majority in each of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. That means an amendment could carry the state, win 7 of 8 districts, and still fail if voters in a single district rejected it. The requirement would apply only to amendments proposed by initiative petition. Constitutional amendments placed on the ballot by the legislature, including Amendment 4 itself, would still pass by simple statewide majority. To supporters, that higher bar is the point. To opponents, it is the problem. You want to continue to maintain your right as a person that has a voice to be heard, Rhodes said. That's what we're here for. An underdog with a supermajority. State Rep. Ed Lewis, the Moberly Republican who sponsored Amendment 4, has spent months making the case that constitutional amendments should require broader geographic consensus. He thinks the campaign is going to be buried in opposition money. If it's going to be decided by who spends the most money on advertising, we will probably lose, Lewis said, because we know that the big money donors have donated to fight it, because they still want to play with the Constitution. Lewis said he is not running ads for Amendment 4. He cannot afford to. I barely have enough money to run ads for myself, said Lewis, who is running in a crowded primary for a seat in the Missouri Senate. Pictured is State Rep. Ed Lewis, a Republican from Moberly, standing in the Missouri House in 2025. He is a larger gentleman, and he is wearing a blue blazer suit with a dark blue, and then he's a light blue button down, and he's wearing a tie that is a large horizontal stripe of blue and orange, and his hair is short, and he is starting to the hairline is going back a little bit, and he has a peppered goatee. Short. It leaves the measure in an unusual position, a proposal placed on the ballot by Missouri's Republican supermajority, endorsed by the state's most powerful agricultural lobby, and framed as a defense against big money in politics, preparing to be massively outspent. On its most recent disclosure report, the main campaign backing Amendment 4 reported around $16,000 cash on hand. Opposition committees had raised millions, led by the Missouri Association of Realtors, which had contributed $4.1 million to Missourians for fair governance. Lewis and his allies are betting on a different playbook. If we win this, it will be by grassroots efforts, Lewis said. It'll be by people talking to another person and explaining why Amendment 4 is necessary. Amendment 4 was placed on the ballot last year during a special legislative session. Government Mike Kehoe moved it from the November ballot to the August primary, when turnout is expected to be smaller and more Republican. The measure would also make the full text of initiative petitions available to voters with their ballots and add language to the Missouri Constitution related to foreign spending and petition fraud. But the campaign is centered on the district-by-district approval requirement. The 2020 playbook. Lewis compared his campaign to the 2020 fight over a Republican-backed amendment that repealed key portions of Clean Missouri, the 2018 redistricting and ethics measures voters had previously approved. In that campaign, supporters of the repeal were dramatically outspent. The Missouri Farm Bureau Fund for Real Representation spent about $45,000 supporting the measure, while the Clean Missouri campaign spent more than $7.1 million opposing it. Voters narrowly approved the repeal. It's going to be a lot like what the Farm Bureau did with Cleaner Missouri, Lewis said. Local representatives, local senators, and the Farm Bureau and the grassroots efforts were able to explain to people why we needed a change. For Lewis, Amendment 4 is about forcing campaigns that want to alter the Constitution to talk more of Missouri. I think people understand why, at least in northern Missouri, in southern Missouri, in rural Missouri, why you'd want to vote for that, he said. Who speaks for rural Missouri? Missouri Farm Bureau, one of the state's most influential agricultural groups, has endorsed Amendment 4. Its president, Garrett Hawkins, previously told The Independent the organization's members have pushed for decades to overhaul the initiative process because they believe constitutional change has come to reflect money concentrated in cities rather than consensus across Missouri. These significant measures that ultimately are enshrined in the Constitution that have tremendous societal and budgetary implications don't start in rural communities, Hawkins said in an interview last month. We're left out of the conversation until we start seeking multi-million-dollar ad campaigns on TV or until we walk into the ballot box to take a position on them. Jason Sozman, chairman of the Adair County Republican Central Committee and the 18th Senatorial District Republican Committee, supports the measure, though he said he would have preferred a lower threshold, perhaps requiring an amendment to pass in 6 of 8 districts rather than all 8. I would have liked to have seen at least a 6-2 majority instead of an 8 majority, Sozman said. But Missouri, he argued, needs to respond to the money pouring into ballot campaigns. We have to do something to stop all of this out-of-state money that pours in on different subjects, he said. Coming out of the back of a box truck, there are 2 people holding a sign, one passing it from the truck down to somebody at the bottom of the truck on the ground. Vote August 4th, no on 4 and 5. Protect Missouri, protect majority rule. And the person in the truck is wearing a yellow t-shirt with vote no, and he's wearing a white ball cap and blue shorts, and then he's handing it to someone who's wearing a purplish polo shirt, lavender, with black pants and a brown belt. Members of the Missouri Association of Realtors unload signs urging voters to reject Amendments 4 and 5 after a rally in Columbia on July 9th. Derek Shriver, a realtor from Washington, Missouri, said that argument misses what Amendment 4 would actually do. Shriver has lived in the Franklin County city of about 16,000 his entire life. He is the immediate past president of the Missouri Association of Realtors, and he views the initiative process as a way for citizens to hold lawmakers accountable when the legislature refuses to act. I view it as a politician's power grab, Shriver said. They are trying to take away a typical function that we have had for over 100 years for citizens to be able to hold politicians accountable. Because the measure's district-by-district math cuts both ways, Shriver argues, it would hobble rural voters the moment they wanted to use initiative process themselves. When rural Missourians really have an issue that they want to bring to the initiative petition, all it would take is one district, whether it be urban or another rural district, to override all of the other rural districts, he said. The result, Shriver said, would be the opposite of what supporters are promising. Rhodes hears the rural farm framing and rejects it too. Me being in central Missouri, not being from a big city, the impact is tremendous, he said. It will hurt us. Rhodes grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, joined the Army at 18 and served for 20 years. He retired near Fort Leonard Wood, started a family in Waynesville, and entered real estate. He says he stayed there because he loved the schools, the pace of life, and the ability to see the effects of his work in a smaller community. When you're really there to help them, you can see your impact, and they can see the impact, Rhodes said. and we support one another. That is why he said Amendment 4 concerns him. He sees the initiative process as a tool for people who may not have power in Jefferson City, but still deserve a way to act when they believe lawmakers are ignoring them. I've always been a person that's going to be on the team and be in the fight, Rhodes said, and to go for people who are small that are afraid to voice their opinion. What would have failed? The debate follows a string of ballot measures in which Missouri voters approved policies opposed by Republican lawmakers. Voters expanded Medicaid in 2020, legalized recreational marijuana in 2022, and approved sports betting and abortion rights in 2024, along with a minimum wage increase and paid sick leave requirement lawmakers later repealed. A review of certified election returns by The Independent found Amendment 4 would have blocked every citizen-led constitutional amendment Missouri voters have approved since 2020. Each passed statewide. None carried all 8 congressional districts under the maps in place at the time. But the proposal would not only affect measures associated with progressive causes. The Independent found that a 2016 amendment barring state and local governments from imposing new sales taxes on most services, backed by business groups, funded by the Missouri Association of Realtors, and approved with nearly a 57% of the vote, would have also failed. It won statewide by more than 375,000 votes, but lost the St. Louis-anchored 1st Congressional District by roughly 31,500. Nationally, states have used different rules to make ballot measures harder to pass, including supermajority requirements for some measures and geographic requirements for signature gathering. But no state currently requires voter approval in each congressional district. Sozman said he regularly hears the criticism that Amendment 4 applies only to citizen-led amendments, while lawmakers' proposals still pass by simple majority. His answer is that legislators already answer to voters everywhere. They're elected by the people already, he said. They're representatives in each and every district all across the state. They are elected, so there doesn't have to be quite the threshold. Standing with my ancestors. Missouri's initiative and referendum process dates to 1908, when voters approved a constitutional amendment giving citizens the power to propose laws and constitutional amendments themselves. That history is where Shriver plants his flag. I like saying I'm standing with my ancestors, he said. We're Missourians all of our lives, and I'm standing with everything they've decided in the past. I'm standing with the way we've been handling ourselves in Missouri for over 100 years. Lewis, for his part, is standing on the same ground, rural Missouri, suspicious of big money, and asking voters to reach the opposite conclusion. If we win this, he said, it will be by grassroots effort. It'll be by people talking to another person. The Independent's Rudy Keller contributed to this story, which was first published at MissouriIndependent.com.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Certified sommelier opening Uncorked, a new wine bar in South Springfield. Elizabeth Sleepily has years of experience in the hospitality industry, but never found a restaurant that checked all of her boxes. Now she's making one herself, by Juliana Goodwin. There's a picture of a young woman with light brown hair and an off-white shirt standing in front of shelves of bottles of wine, holding a glass of Brut Nature, a draft cava white wine. When Elizabeth Sleepily opens Uncorked, it will be a dream years in the making. I fell in love with wine a very long time ago, she said, but owning a wine bar was an unexpected twist in her life. Sleepily graduated from College of the Ozarks with a degree in education and plans to become a librarian. I was that nerdy kid who always asked questions. I loved to read and found a master's equivalent in wine, said Sleepily, who is a certified sommelier. At College of the Ozarks, students who did not pay tuition but work their way through college, learning jobs across campus. Her first workstation was in a student-run restaurant. She was hooked on hospitality. Her senior year in 2014, Sleepily landed a job at Top of the Rock and quickly discovered that wine made people happy. If the kitchen was running behind and Sleepily approached a table who wasn't drinking wine, to apologize, they'd be curt and have words with her. If she approached a table with a bottle of wine, the reaction was different. There's a picture of charcuterie boards and a classic pairing such as a charcuterie board with wine. And there's a picture of Sleepily speaking to a guy with a black baseball cap and a black shirt with a beard and glasses. They were like, What are you talking about, sweetie? We've got this wine. Don't worry, she said. At Uncorked, she plans to share that joy and her wine knowledge with customers. Located at 1314 East Battlefield Road in the Fremont Shopping Center, Uncorked held a media preview event on Thursday, July 9th. The business expects to open by the end of the month. This wine bar will be dedicated to education and more boutique labels. Don't expect all the usual offerings on her menu. She wants you to explore other options. It's fun to discover new wines, she said. From a curious kid to a curious graduate. Seepley grew up in Indiana, just outside of Chicago, as one of 6 kids. When she started her first job at Top of the Rock, she didn't know a lot about wine but wanted to learn more because the restaurant served many customers and had a large libation menu. She found a server who was studying to become a sommelier, and he encouraged her to study for the first in a series of tests. She started Googling winery websites, learning definitions and pronunciations. Becoming a sommelier is not a one-and-done test. There are multiple steps leading to different levels of certification. Students must thirst for ongoing knowledge. In March 2020, when everything shut down because of the pandemic, Seepley was scheduled to take a sommelier exam, but wasn't able to. With nothing else to do, Seepley focused on increasing her knowledge. She took her first exam in November 2022 and has taken tests every year since. There's a picture that it says, right as you walk in, there is a large wall filled with a variety of wine to choose from. Photo by Ellie Freistack. Seepley has had a variety of jobs over the years, working at Hickory Hills Country Club, Metropolitan Grill, and as wine rep at Bonded Beverage. But everywhere I went, no one was into wine at a serious education level where they were chasing the accolades of testing, she said. Everyone was following the same brand names and doing the same thing. If the staff aren't educated about wine, then the guests suffer, she said. Her staff will be well trained. Before opening, she took them to St. Louis to a workshop taught by a master sommelier. The brand names are thrown at us everywhere we go, she said. Seepley wants to educate customers about different wines and grapes they've never heard of. If they come in and tell her they like a specific grape variety, she wants them to better understand the structure of the wine and what they are tasting. As a sommelier, she will help them pick out nuances. Springfield has a strong wine culture, she said, and she wants to tap into it. Getting ready for opening. Opening has taken longer than expected. Seepley lives in Reed Spring with her partner who is helping her with the wine bar. They've done a lot of the work themselves, so it has been a learning experience and a tremendous amount of work. When it opens, Uncorked will offer 20 to 25 wines by the glass. I envision we will have storage space for 300 bottles, she said. We will build to that, not right away. We are not building a wine museum, but a living, breathing wine list. I want wine that keeps you coming back and you want to know if there is more from this producer. Uncorked manager Josh Patton pours wine from the tap for guests during the bar's media event on Thursday, July 9th, 2026 in Springfield, photo by Ellie Freistack. Expect a lot of interesting options and a few safe ones. Seepley is partnering with a Herman-based Robler Vineyard and Winery, so expect a Missouri Vino on the menu as well. It will be a full-service restaurant serving charcuterie, shareable bites, and dessert all day. Some menu items include prosciutto wrapped asparagus, chicken satay skewers, a charred lemon Caesar salad, and cucumber tea sandwiches. For something different, try the dirty martini dip with whipped feta, ricotta, and cream cheese topped with manzanilla olives, lemon zest, olive oil, and blue cheese crumbles. Seepley envisions a space with a slower pace where she has a one-on-one interaction with customers. If you slow down and connect with them, they will come back again, she said. I want to get into a higher level wine knowledge where people walk away and can use it. There will be a wine club guests can join and events like pop-up winemaker tastings. The venue will seat a maximum of 56 and offer a variety of seating from bar stools to sofas and tables. In all the spaces she's worked, Seepley felt like something was missing, whether it was another level of wine education or a focus on community, so she decided to execute her own vision and start a business. We need to get back to community-driven spaces, Seepley said. We need to save our time together. Everyone is always doing their own thing. Wine is meant to be shared. You open wine and drink it with friends. I'm ready for my ideas to take flight. Juliana Goodwin is a freelance journalist with experience covering business, travel, and tourism, health, food, and history. She is a former food and travel columnist for the Springfield News Leader, a former business reporter for the Joplin Globe, and has written for USA Today and Arkansas Living Magazine, among others.
Springfield News Leader, this is Care About Missouri. Your vote August 4th matters for the future. An opinion piece. Loring Bullard, Bob Kipfer, Barbara Lux, Todd Parnell, and Tim Smith, Springfield News Leader. Pay close attention to the Missouri constitutional amendments on the August 4th ballot. There is one that is good and two that are very bad. Amendment 1 is good. It would extend the existing 1/10 of 1 cent sales tax for Missouri state parks, historic sites, and county soil and water conservation districts. Missourians love their fish, forests, wildlife, farms, rivers, and lakes, so have supported the sales tax every year it has come up for renewal. If we have any sense, we will pass this by a landslide again. Amendment 4 is bad in that it makes it harder for Missourians to pass citizen-led initiatives. Measures would have to pass in all of the state's congressional districts, meaning one district could hold all Missourians hostage by blocking the measure. Amendment 5 is also bad, a Trojan horse if there ever was one. TV ads make it sound good, saying it would punish data centers, make them pay big time. But in reality, the amendment says absolutely nothing about data centers. Instead, it would gradually replace income tax revenue, which makes up 60% of the state's budget, with sales tax revenue. This means huge increases in sales taxes on goods and services with no cap on how much taxes could rise. Amendment 5 would be a big win for rich people who sometimes pay high income taxes, and a big loss for the rest of us who pay less income tax but must still buy the same amount of goods and services. Further, future legislators would have to make the tax adjustments with no guarantee they would do so. And to the distress of anyone the least bit conservation-minded, Amendment 5 would follow the state auditor to change, without a popular vote, the rate for constitutionally mandated sales tax supporting state parks and erosion control, and the Missouri Department of Conservation. If you want to see a brighter future for Missourians, vote yes on Amendment 1 and no on Amendment 4 and 5. Loring Bullard, Bob Kipfer, Barbara Lux, and Todd Purnell all live in Springfield. Tim Smith lives in Willard.
This is from the Springfield Business Journal. Excuse me. Open for Business, Modern Sips Acai Bar by Mike Cullinan, reporter. A longtime educator made a professional pivot by taking over ownership of the downtown drink shop Modern Sips Acai Bar. Debbie Wells, along with her husband Chris, are the new owners of the 1,700 square foot shop at 323 East Walnut Street. Wells said she bought the business on June 1st from Michael Elder, who had owned the shop since October 2023. The purchase price was undisclosed. Wells said she's among the shop's 4 employees, which include the couple's 2 daughters, Madeline Mackey and Isabel Wells. The Wells own the business via MDI Collective LLC, she added. The menu at Modern Sips includes acai bowls with toppings such as fruit, granola, honey, Nutella, and peanut butter, as well as protein smoothies, energy drinks, and hot and iced coffees. Wells said she and her husband signed a 3-year lease for an undisclosed rate with Springfield Lofts, a division of Brentwood Management Incorporated. Wells has spent the past 15 years as a teacher in the Republic School District, most recently working as a digital content specialist. Phone is 417-469-3175. Email mdIcollective323@gmail.com. Vintage Paris. An ownership change took place on June 12th for Hollister Coffee Shop Vintage Paris, LLC. Matt Farmer said he and his wife Jessica exited the 17-year-old business they've owned since 2012 after selling it for undisclosed terms to another married couple and frequent customers, Grayson and Mary Smither. The complexity and needs of the business didn't match the focus Farmer said he and his wife had it to offer it anymore. The farmer said Grayson Smither, a regular at the shop since 2012, is a College of the Ozarks graduate and has experience in the hospitality and facility service industries. The farmers also both graduated from the private Christian College in Point Lookout. Farmers said that all 18 of the shop's employees stayed on amid the transition. The company is coming off a strong revenue year of roughly $500,000 in 2025. He said, adding he and his wife will remain available to the Smithers for consultation and support. Vintage Paris has been in its current location at 7900 State Highway 165 since late 2021. Phone is 417-593-7952. VintageParisCoffee.com is the website. Adventure Seekers. Orlando, Florida-based Ripley's Believe It or Not World Entertainment expanded its footprint in Branson with the recent purchase announcement of Adventure Seekers and its Fly Ride Theater from Randy Little. The deal for the 3115 West 76 Country Boulevard attraction closed June 15th for undisclosed terms, said Ripley spokesperson Suzanne Smagala Potts. Adventure Seekers bills itself as a family-friendly fun factory with more than 150 interactive exhibits, games, hands-on displays, and more, according to its website. The Fly Ride Theater, which is a fully immersive cinematic flight experience, includes iconic landmarks such as the Grand Canyon and Niagara Falls, as well as dinosaur shows. It is located inside the entertainment venue. Adventure Seekers, a roughly one-year-old attraction, joins Ripley's operations in Branson that comprise Ripley's Believe It or Not Branson, Ripley's Super Fun Park Branson, and Creative Custom Fabrication. Ripley's has more than 100 attractions in 9 countries. Phone is 417-605-3211. Website is adventureseekersbranson.com.
From Ozarks First, 8 arrested in Taney County human trafficking sting by Drew Tassett and Michael McLaughlin. Taney County, Missouri, 8 people were arrested in a human trafficking investigation by law enforcement in Taney County on Friday, July 10th. The Taney County Sheriff's Office, TCSO, says its investigators, along with investigators from the Stone County Sheriff's Office and the Missouri Attorney General's Office, conducted what the agency calls a human trafficking demand reduction operation. In the operation, investigators arrested 8 suspects as well as seizing 4 firearms, methamphetamine, and drug paraphernalia, according to TCSO. Investigators also recovered alcohol intended for a minor. According to online court records, all 8 suspects responded to sexually explicit advertisements and agreed, mostly in amounts between $115 and $350, to have sexual intercourse with the adult featured in the advertisement. One suspect, Clarence Haney, agreed to have sexual intercourse with a 16-year-old juvenile along with a 19-year-old persona. The following suspects were arrested. Clarence Wayne Haney, charged with enticement of a child, patronizing prostitution, and supplying liquor to a minor, held with no bond. Jason Wayne Still, charged with patronizing prostitution, bond set at $50,000. Nick E. Ward, charged with patronizing prostitution, unlawful use of a weapon, possession of a controlled substance, unlawful use of drug paraphernalia, held with no bond. Brian Justin Mason, charged with patronizing prostitution, bond set at $50,000. Reginald Dean Kelly, charged with patronizing prostitution, bond set at $25,000. Desmond Jerome Melton, charged with patronizing prostitution, bond set at $50,000. Brandon Blake, charged with patronizing prostitution, bond set at $50,000. David Benton Denny, charged with patronizing prostitution, unlawful possession of a firearm, held with no bond. The Missouri Information Analysis Center, MIAC, Pathways Project of the Ozarks, and Our, OUR is capitalized, Rescue, also assisted law enforcement in Friday's operation. We would like to extend our appreciation to all the agencies and organizations that assisted in this operation, said TCSO in a press release. We maintain a zero-tolerance stand on human trafficking in any form and will continue to aggressively pursue those who participate in and perpetuate these crimes.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Former social worker and husband charged with child abuse, neglect in Webster County. Amanda and Jason Acree of Rogersville are both charged with 8 counts of abuse or neglect of a child. That's 1 felony charge for each of the 8 children authorities say were in the couple's custody. By Jackie Rewald. A Rogersville woman, a former social worker turned foster and adoptive mother, has been charged with multiple counts of abuse or neglect of a child. Amanda Lynn Acree, born in 1986, is charged with 8 counts of the Class D felony of abuse or neglect of a child. That's 1 count for each child investigators say are in her and her husband's custody. Her husband, Jason Acree, 44, is facing the same charges. He has been arrested and remains in custody at the Webster County Jail on a $10,000 bond. The charges come after Webster County deputy and Children's Division worker allegedly found the Acree home in Rogersville very dirty and messy conditions on June 15th, with animal feces and urine in several of the children's rooms and beds. According to the probable cause statement, Children's Division workers have done several investigations at the Acree home in the past, but the workers had not checked the back of the house where the children lived prior to the June 15th visit. A Webster County judge granted a warrant for Amanda Acree's arrest on Wednesday, June 24th. Amanda Acree was not home when the deputy and Children's Division worker visited the Rogersville residence earlier this month, according to the probable cause statement. Jason Acree was home and told the investigators that Amanda Acree had left 2 weeks ago with some of their children to go to North Carolina to find a new home. Dad, messy home is due to packing. According to the statement, Jason Acree allegedly attempted to explain the messy home by telling the investigators the family was in the process of packing and that he intended to hire a moving company to help him and the rest of the family move to North Carolina. The 5 children who were at the Rogersville residence on June 15th were taken into Children's Division custody. The publicly available charging documents do not disclose where the 3 remaining children in the Acree's custody are located. According to the probable cause statement, the Webster County Sheriff's Office was contacted by a Children's Division worker on June 15th, asking for assistance with the investigation of a dirty house. A deputy contacted the CD worker, who told the deputy that there had been several investigations done at the residence in the past. Once I got the door of the residence, I was immediately hit by a foul odor of rotting food and the smell of cat feces, the deputy wrote, adding that there were a lot of packing boxes cluttered at the door, which made it hard to enter through the front door. Jason showed us the kitchen. I noticed empty food containers and trash scattered all around the counter. I also saw trash covering the floor of the kitchen. Deputy allegedly finds animal feces on kids' beds. The deputy went on to describe conditions in the laundry room as having full trash bags full of molding trash lying on the floor, along with dirty clothes and towels. The deputy described one of the bedrooms where some of the children slept as having trash on the floor and on the dresser and stains covering the bed. In the probable cause statement, the deputy described finding multiple beds where the children slept with animal feces and urine on them, as well as on the floor. In another bedroom, the deputy said he had to walk over a diaper which was filled with human poop and pee, which was lying in the middle of the floor. The deputy also described the basement as having animal feces and urine all over the floor. The deputy noted in the report that Jason Acree's bedroom was in eminent condition compared to the rest of the residence, with no trash or foul odor. Amanda Acree seriously injured in 2020. Jason Acree spoke with a news leader in 2020 after Amanda Acree had been seriously injured in a one-vehicle accident in Springfield. Then, for 34, Amanda Acree had suffered a broken wrist and ankle, shattered femur, and broken ribs. Her right leg was amputated. Jason Acree told the reporter in 2020 that Amanda Acree was a licensed social worker and counselor who had worked for the Children's Division for about 6 years. Jason Acree said Amanda Acree opened the now-defunct Thrive Family Support Services, a private practice counseling office in Marshfield in 2017, according to the 2020 Newsletter article. Department of Social Services documents show Thrive Family Support Services had an office in South Springfield in 2025. At the time of the crash, the Acrees had 8 children in their home, then ages 1 through 14. Of those, 1 was Amanda's biological child, 3 were adopted, and 4 were siblings who, at that time, were in foster care. Also at that time, the couple was in the process of taking in another baby. Any identifying information about the children who were in the home when a Children's Division worker and deputy visited earlier this month is redacted in the charging documents. Jackie Rewald is a reporter at the Springfield Daily Citizen. She covers public safety, the courts, homelessness, domestic violence, and other social issues. Her office line is 417-837-3659.
Ozarks First. Thunder Days returns to the Ozarks with professional bull riding, concerts from country music stars by Drew Tassett. Ridgedale, Missouri, this Labor Day weekend. Thunder Ridge Nature Arena will host the 2026 PBR Thunder Days events with a professional bull riding competition and concerts from 2 country music stars. Thunder Days runs from September 4th through 6th and features PBR professional bull riders, teams league action as part of the PBR's Missouri Thunder's annual homestand. Throughout the weekend, the Missouri Thunder and League's 9 other teams from across the country will face each other in head-to-head bull riding games. The events on Friday, September 4th will end with a live concert from country music star Chris Janson, known for songs such as Buy Me a Boat and Fix a Drink. Then on Saturday, September 5th, 3-time Grammy winner Miranda Lambert, also known for songs such as The House That Built Me and Mama's Broken Heart, will take stage at Thunder Ridge for a concert under the stars. Also part of the event is the Fan Zone, which is filled with multi-family friendly activities and entertainment at Thunder Ridge. General public tickets for PBR Thunder Days go on sale Friday, July 17th at 10 a.m. at pbr.com. That's all capitalized, pbr.com, and the Thunder Ridge Nature Arena website. We're proud to bring PBR teams back to Thunder Ridge to offer fans so much more than a sporting event, said Luke Snyder, general manager of the Missouri Thunder. This is a destination weekend where world-class bull riding, hometown team pride, incredible live music, and the beauty of the Ozarks all come together to create an experience that fans will remember long after the final ride. The bull riding action for Thunder Days begins at 7:45 p.m. on Friday, September 4th, 6:45 p.m. on Saturday, September 5th, and concludes at 2:15 p.m. on Sunday, September 6th.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. East Coast sandwich chain Capriotti's coming to Springfield. The sandwich restaurant is taking over the space on East Battlefield Road, formerly occupied by Pita Pit. Plans are underway for the first Capriotti's sandwich shop in Springfield, located in the former Pita Pit space at 1318 East Battlefield Road. The Franchises LLC was founded in July of last year. Once permits are approved, a construction crew is already contracted and construction will begin immediately. The chain boasts locations in both the St. Louis and Kansas City areas, but this location will be the first Capriotti's in southern Missouri. Founded in 1976, the sub shop originated in a Little Italy neighborhood in Delaware and has since expanded to over 175 locations nationwide. One of the sandwich restaurant's claims to fame is the Bobby, a Thanksgiving-themed sub with slow-roasted turkey, stuffing, mayonnaise, and cranberry sauce. In 2009, AOL voted it the greatest sandwich in America. Franchisee also operates local Fazoli's. Springfield's Capriotti franchisee is no stranger to Italian-inspired fare. In the Queen City, James Jacobson, who has a background as an executive chef, also operates 3 Fazoli's locations, 2 in Springfield and 1 in Joplin, along with his wife, Donna Jacobson, and business partner Larry Graham. Jacobson learned of Capriotti's through a business contact. Later, he drove down to Fayetteville, Arkansas with his business partners to sample the sandwiches that are served at Capriotti's, and they were impressed. There's nothing like it in Springfield, Jacobson said. It's just the quality of their product, the flavor, the freshness, the variety. Jacobson said that the venture could expand into multiple stores down the line, but the focus will be on the Battlefield location first. The restaurant is expected to open by mid to late September, according to Jacobson. Brian Smoot is an intern at the Springfield Daily Citizen. He is a junior at the Missouri School of Journalism, studying journalism and political science. Contact him at bsmoot@sgfcitizen.org.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store Radio Reading Service. Come by and see us in person with daily deals at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. Veterans receive a 25% discount every day, providing significant savings as a token of appreciation for their service. Additionally, the store features a weekly clothing sale where all clothing items are available at 50% off every Wednesday. Seniors aged 55 and older benefit from a 25% discount every Tuesday, making shopping more affordable for the senior community.
And oh, good grief. My brain.
I'm ready. Okay. Missouri pushes for more nuclear energy to power the future, Springfield News Leader by Jana Rose Schleiss. This was July 11th. Key points. Missouri is exploring an expansion of nuclear power to meet growing electricity demands from manufacturing, electric vehicles, and AI data centers. The state has formed a task force to address the challenges of building new nuclear facilities, including high upfront costs and a lack of recent construction experience in the U.S. Experts note that America has lost the skills and supply chains needed for nuclear construction, citing recent costly and delayed projects in Georgia. Driving through the winding roads of Callaway County, often visible in the distance, is a massive 553-foot tall concrete structure emitting what looks like white clouds. A lot of people think that's smoke coming out of the top. It is not. That is water vapor, said Travis Hart, manager of the Callaway nuclear power plant that produces 15% of Missouri's electricity. The next structure that you see, this big rounded dome, that is the reactor building itself, Hart said. The single nuclear reactor near Fulton was built in the late 1970s and began generating electricity in 1984. Initially, the site was designed with 2 reactors in mind, but Hart said plans for a second unit came to a halt in the early 80s due to decreasing electricity demand and rising costs. Now, more than 40 years later, energy demand is growing due to increased manufacturing, adoption of electric vehicles, and the development of AI data centers. In a scramble for more power, tech companies and utilities are starting to formally shutter nuclear power plants, such as 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. In states like Missouri, politicians are eager to find ways to build new ones and expand existing plants like the one in Callaway County. Steam rises out of the nuclear plant on the 3 Mile Island in Middletown, Pennsylvania, pictured on March 26, 2019. There are 2 tall stacks with lots of water vapor coming out that look like clouds. They look black in the distance with the sky behind them, so the shadowing, and an American flag flying from the flagpole. Debates about how to pay for the multi-billion-dollar projects resurfaced in the Missouri legislature this spring. While cost is the first hurdle to creating a new fleet of nuclear power plants in America, the actual construction of the facilities is the second. Early this year, Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe signed an executive order that creates the Advanced Nuclear Energy Task Force to evaluate and guide the state's strategic approach to nuclear energy development. Lost skills. The majority of the nuclear power plants in America were built between 1960s and 1980s. Construction slowed in response to energy demand leveling out, increased safety regulations, and public perception of nuclear power souring after the 3 Mile Island accident. Speaking at the University of Missouri in May, Director General of the Federal Nuclear Energy Agency, William Magwood, said building nuclear power plants as a skill in America has gotten rusty. We used to be really good at building plants back in the 60s and 70s. How do we reconstruct that? That's going to be a real challenge, Magwood said. The only new nuclear power facilities built in America in recent decades are the 3rd and 4th reactors at the Vogtle Electric Plant near Waynesboro, Georgia. While the reactors came online in 2023 and 24 and produced more than 1,000 megawatts of power each, the project was billions of dollars over budget and years behind schedule. Magwood said a lot of what boggled the Vogtle construction was the lack of institutional knowledge about building nuclear power plants. We just didn't know what we were doing, he said. We hadn't built a nuclear plant in a generation. We didn't have people who knew how to do it. We didn't have the infrastructure. We didn't have the supply chain. The regulator didn't know what the hell they were doing. I was there, so I know. In South Carolina, efforts to construct a new nuclear power plant were abandoned after billions were spent and the company behind the project went bankrupt. Pictured is from the ground up to nuclear plants. The second of 2 new units at the Vogtle nuclear plant in Georgia began commercial operations on April 29th, 2024. There are 2 in the front with the water vapor coming out, and it's dusk. So there's darker blue at the top and more orange and reds down towards the bottom, showing the horizon. And in the background, there are 2 more of the stacks with more water vapor coming out. Kurt Schaefer is tasked with ensuring Missouri can avoid similar blunders. The longtime politician and public servant has been dubbed the leader of Missouri's nuclear power renaissance by System President Mun Choi, who has been enthusiastic about advancing nuclear power by hosting national energy leaders on campus in recent years. In May, Kehoe appointed Schaefer as head of the state's new nuclear power task force, a group of representatives from utility companies, higher education institutions, politicians, state utility regulators, and trades workers, all charged with finding a way to make new nuclear power a reality. Schaefer said the first step to establishing more nuclear power in the state is finding the cash. It's all about money, he said. It is expensive up front to build a plant, and unless the federal government steps up, I just don't see it happening. In June, the Federal Department of Energy announced $17.5 billion in loans for utilities and energy companies to build 10 large-scale commercial nuclear reactors. Schaefer wants one of those reactors to be in Missouri, ideally near the existing nuclear plant in Callaway County. We are really behind the 8 ball here of the United States on nuclear power, but you're seeing a big effort, particularly from the federal government, to move us in that direction, he said. As electricity demand continues to climb, Schaefer believes nuclear power is the best way for Missouri to meet that demand. The zero-carbon plants can generate energy around the clock, unlike solar and wind power that need the right conditions to produce power. Plus, given the longevity of nuclear power facilities, Schaefer sees them as a good investment. To him, a robust power supply means a booming economy. This is our future. This is what we have to do to keep Missouri economically viable, and that's what we're going to do, Schaefer said. Who goes first? The ballooning cost of nuclear power plants isn't a new issue. Any project that takes big years to complete, and things may change in the meantime, said Victor McFarland, University of Missouri energy historian. The cost of your supplies might go up, the cost of labor might go up. Decades ago, when many of America's atomic energy centers were built, inflation was high and budgets stretched beyond initial figures. So the original estimates for the construction of these plants that were true, say in 1970, they weren't true anymore in 1975 or 1980, McFarland said. There were big cost overruns. Now, as the world turns away from fossil fuels, Magwood said nuclear capacity needs to triple to meet the net zero by 2050 goals. Currently, the nuclear power industry does not benefit from economies of scale. Because new nuclear projects are rare, costs are high, and supply chains aren't fully developed, adding to the overall risk of the endeavor. One of the big problems is nobody wants to be first. Everybody wants to go fourth, Magwood said. Believe it or not, that doesn't work very well. Somebody has to bite the bullet. Somebody has to take the risk. And what I think the industry would really like would be if the government somehow put a safety net under the first projects. Ameren, Missouri, has been clear about its goals to develop additional nuclear power. The company is planning to add 1,500 megawatts of atomic energy to its portfolio by 2045. Callaway nuclear plant manager Travis Hart is an electrician by trade and first set foot at the facility 25 years ago when he was hired to work on the refueling crew. He said that's when he fell in love with the place. When I walked in here and saw the equipment, how it fits together, how it works, how the design was, it was just extremely interesting to me, Hart said. There are a number of reasons the Callaway site is suited for expansion, Hart said. The location has access to the power grid, water from the nearby Missouri River, and a largely supportive local community that fills the plant's roughly 750 permanent jobs, while the company pays $9.8 million in annual property taxes to Callaway County. The Callaway Energy Center's current operating license extends through 2044, and Hart is confident the company will receive approval to operate beyond that date. I tell my people here all the time, this is important, so we got to get it right, and we got to do a good job of it, and it's okay to be proud of it because it makes a difference, Hart said. In the coming years, the state's new nuclear power task force will assess Missouri's readiness to provide the workforce, policies, and supply chain needed to create the nuclear power renaissance. This story was originally published by KBIA and shared through the Missouri News Network.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Cliff Smart, USA has much to celebrate after 250 years. America has stood for democracy and the freedoms of speech, religion, assembly, and the press, plus advanced equality and the rule of law here and abroad. This Saturday, we will all celebrate the 250th birthday of the United States of America. I'll be at Hickory Hills Country Club with Gail and our oldest son and his 6 children, where we will eat, play, visit with friends and neighbors, and watch fireworks. It's always fun, but July 4th should be more than just fun with friends and family. It's a time to celebrate America, particularly this year. I love our country while recognizing it is not and never has been perfect. I served in the United States Army, as did my brother and father. I'm a member of the Sons of the American Revolution. I have prospered here, as have our children and grandchildren. And I think there are things about our history that set us apart from other nations. I'm going to use this column to reflect on that theme and some of the events and actions that resonate with me. It began with the fact that our ancestors fought for our independence, yet even as the tension between occupying British troops and colonists was building in the 1760s and resulted in what is known as the Boston Massacre on March 5th, 1770, The accused British soldiers received a fair trial where they were represented by Patriot John Adams and mostly acquitted. They were not lynched or executed by a mob. This was the beginning of the importance of the rule of law. Ultimately, when the revolution was won, with the help of the French, George Washington retired as general and commander-in-chief of the Continental Army to his home in Mount Vernon to farm. In other words, he voluntarily gave up power instead of becoming a dictator. He did it a second time by refusing to run for a third term as president. These acts made him the greatest man of the age, according to George III. There's a picture of 4 grown men and a young man in suits. It says, gathering for a photo at the 2017 inauguration of President Donald Trump, were from left the then Missouri State President Cliff Smart, Charlie Blunt with his father, then U.S. Senator Roy Blunt, MSU Choral Director Cameron LaBarre, and then U.S. Representative Billy Long. A photo was provided. This latter act set the stage for 250 years of mostly peaceful transfers of power between elected leaders. I witnessed this in person in 2017 as the Missouri State University Chorale performed at the inauguration of President Trump. Power peacefully passed from President Obama to President Trump, even though they could not have been more different from each other. That principle was tested in 1861 when Abraham Lincoln was elected president and 11 states seceded, forming the Confederacy. We were willing to fight to retain those states, however, and ultimately eliminate slavery. While African Americans didn't immediately gain equal rights, that eventually occurred as a result of the Civil Rights Movement. The Declaration of Independence's statement that all men are created equal in America finally became a fact in law, strengthened as a nation of immigrants. After the Civil War ended, the United States experienced rapid industrialization. The labor needed was provided by massive immigration, mostly from Southern and Eastern Europe. The Statue of Liberty was gifted by France to the United States and dedicated in 1886, commemorating the alliance between the two nations during the American Revolution and the centennial of American independence. Conceived by Edouard Le Boyer in 1865, it represents liberty and the abolition of slavery. The following words appear: "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." No sentiment better highlights that we are and have always been a nation of immigrants, and that this history makes us stronger, not weaker. At about the same time, we did something no other country had ever done before. We created a system of national parks so that everyone, not just the affluent, could enjoy the outdoors. Yellowstone was the first of what are now 63 national parks, created by President Grant. President Theodore Roosevelt added national monuments during his tenure, and the parks and monuments were put under one system in 1916 when President Wilson created the National Park Service. In the 20th century, America became a world power, turning the tide in both the First and Second World Wars. What's noteworthy after the latter victory is that we helped to rebuild those countries that had been our enemies through initiatives like the Marshall Plan. The United States pumped over the equivalent of $140 billion of today's dollars into the economies of Western Europe to rebuild their infrastructure, restore their industrial and agricultural production, and ultimately benefit the United States. The United States then led the fight against communism and for democracy for the next 40 years, resulting in the fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989. President Reagan is widely credited with accelerating its fall because of his policies and advocacy. Today, most of the countries behind the Iron Curtain are part of a free European Union. Core principles will survive. Throughout our 250 years of history, America has stood for democracy and the freedoms of speech, religion, assembly, and the press, advanced equality, and fought for the rule of law, and ultimately against discrimination and genocide here and abroad. Many of my friends are pessimistic that we will continue to support such principles and initiatives going forward, but don't count me in that group. I believe we have much more in common with each other than we realize, and I believe greater days are still ahead. American resilience and entrepreneurship are unmatched, and we will once again become a leader for good in the world. That latter achievement may not happen until 2029, though. Happy birthday, America. Clifton Cliff M. Smart III retired in mid-2024 after serving as the 11th president of Missouri State University. Before his presidency, Smart served as the university's general counsel and previously had a private legal practice in Springfield. He and his wife Gail have lived in Springfield for more than 3 decades and are both active in community affairs, serving on various boards and leadership roles. In June 2025, he joined the board of directors of the Springfield Daily Citizen and is now president of the organization. He can be reached at csmart@sgfcitizen.org.
Data center controversies in the spotlight during Missouri primaries. Steph Quinn, Missouri Independent. Key points: Missouri residents and some lawmakers are raising concern over tax breaks and a lack of transparency for large-scale data center projects. Multiple data centers are planned or under construction along the I-70 corridor, sparking debate in local and state politics. State legislators are considering new rules for data centers regarding public input, utility costs, and water usage, along with the I-70 corridor being shut down for the next 11 months. Montgomery City, Missouri. Bill Cope stood before the Montgomery County Commission earlier this month to urge local officials to reject a 25-year, 70% personal property tax abatement for a $15 billion, 934-acre Google data center project under construction outside of New Florence. I'm not against the schools or health department or anybody getting more money, Cope said, referring to expected real property tax revenues from the project. I think that's needed, I do. I'm against the abatement part of it because if data center developers are that good, they should come in and we should welcome them, but pay your fair share. Cope's objection captures the tension now pushing data centers into Missouri's state house politics. Local officials are approving multi-billion-dollar projects while lawmakers debate whether the state needs rules on transparency, utility costs, water use, and public input before more deals are locked in. Cope told The Independent he lost about 300 acres of his 15-acre corn and soybean farming operation in Truxton when the owner of the land he was renting sold to Amazon, which is building a $10 million data center in New Florence north of the highway. Losing that ground, he said, will drive up fixed costs across the remaining 1,200 acres he farms. The Amazon and Google data centers, part of a 5,000-acre Heart of America industrial megasite, are among at least 5 data centers proposed for a 30-mile stretch along the I-70 corridor of St. Louis. Other data center projects are under discussion in Liberty, Maryville, Independence, and Joplin. As Missouri's August 4th primary approaches, the promise and peril of data centers have moved from local development meetings into statewide campaign politics. And I just saw an ad this morning for I-70 being shut down for 11 months. As Missouri's August 4th primary approaches, the promise and peril of data centers have moved from local development meeting into statewide campaign politics. Data centers have become a flashpoint in fights over constitutional amendments, and in nearly every competitive Republican state Senate primary, with candidates turning local frustration over tax breaks, secrecy, and development pressure into a campaign issue. Pictured is Bill Cope urging the Montgomery County Commission to reject a tax incentive plan for a Google data center at a meeting on June 8th in Montgomery City, describing the impacts of data center development on his farm. He is wearing jeans with a belt and wearing a short-sleeved plaid button-down shirt with a gray ball cap. He is an older gentleman with a goatee and gray hair, and he is surrounded by other older gentlemen with ball caps and listening to what he's saying, and then historic pictures of local buildings on the wall. And they look like they're in a church sort of setting with pews. Let's see. As Missouri's... Oh, wait. Nope. I was one up. I lost my place reading the thing. A television ad set against the backdrop of rows of humming data center servers seeks to convince viewers that Amendment 5 would reverse a 2015 law that created sales and use tax exemptions for data center projects through the legislature would have to vote separately to undo those tax breaks. Republican State Rep. Tricia Burns of Wentzville, who is running in a hotly contested primary for a seat in the Missouri Senate in June, sketched out legislation she plans to file next year to bolster transparency of data center development and require local officials to allow more opportunities for public input. Burns also announced the House Intergovernmental Affairs Committee will convene September 16th to discuss data centers. And in a recent letter to Governor Mike Kehoe, 16 Missouri lawmakers asked for a special session of the General Assembly to address growing concerns surrounding the development of large-scale data centers and the impact these facilities may have on Missouri communities. The lawmakers were led by another Republican representative who is running in a crowded GOP primary for Missouri State Senate, Don Mayhew of the Crocker. They argue data center development is moving too quickly for lawmakers to wait until the General Assembly reconvenes in January. The rapid emergence of large-scale data centers and artificial intelligence technologies is creating challenges that existing laws were never designed to address, their letter reads. Missouri should not wait until irreversible decisions are made before determining whether adequate protections exist for its citizens. Republican State Rep. Tricia Burns of Wentzville describes legislation she plans to sponsor aimed at increasing transparency of discussions between local officials and data center developers during a June press conference in Wentzville. She is standing at a podium with one microphone for Fox 2 News. She is wearing a red blazer with the sleeves rolled up, a blue button-down shirt underneath, and a red and blue polka-dotted multicolored scarf around her neck, red glasses, and her hair tied back. She is several people are behind her, standing with her. Burns said her planned bill isn't finalized, but our priorities include mandated public comment periods for large-scale data center projects and restrictions on non-disclosure agreements, preventing local officials from seeking expert opinions on proposals. When you're given an NDA, you start to become fearful if you can ask expert questions you might have. And I want to stop that from happening, said Burns, who served as a Wentzville alderman before being elected to the House and is running to represent the district, including the 2 Montgomery County data centers. Mayhew, an engineer and former Pulaski County surveyor, posed with a piece of surveying equipment in a video on his campaign's Facebook page, where he said rapid development of artificial intelligence has created a technological dilemma with data centers. Too many times the legislature is 5 years behind on legislation, and we need to get ahead of it this time, Mayhew said. The role of the state. As lawmakers weigh in on data centers, questions remain about the roles of the legislature in putting up guardrails around decisions that typically fall to local officials. Legislation last session aiming to shield residents from bearing the cost of data centers' electricity and water consumption did not get a committee vote. Sponsored by Republican state reps Colin Wellenkamp of St. Charles and Mike Koslow of Dardenne Prairie, the legislation sought to expand on the 2025 law requiring the state's investor-owned electric utilities, Ameren, Evergy, and Liberty, to develop higher rate schedules for large load electricity consumers like data centers. Koslow and Wellenkamp's bills would have extended that requirement to municipally owned utilities and electric cooperatives, mandating a separate rate schedule for customers expected to have an annual peak demand of 50 megawatts or more. The bills propose similar measures for water use. Consumers using more than 2 million gallons of fresh water per day, or 80% of local water capacity, would have to pay higher rates and get a permit from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. The department would then have to notify county commissioners within 30 days of receiving the permit application and hold a 30-day public comment period. Koslow told The Independent that the department's role would be to act as the objective arbiter to ensure that we are getting correct information and that the locals, when they're considering these projects, get accurate information. He cautioned against state lawmakers compelling additional disclosure during discussions between developers and local officials. While the state should tackle issues of grid integrity and protecting natural resources, he said, we want local communities to really get engaged. That includes residents voting in April elections, as well as local officials communicating with their constituents. The real concern that residents have is that their elected officials walk in on day one of the public notice and they already know how they're going to vote, and that they don't listen to the people that are talking, Koslow said. That's the real big problem, and additional time for public comment is not going to fix that trust. The goal of the legislation, Wellenkamp told The Independent, is to empower communities to be able to make a more informed decision for themselves if they want to host a data center or AI infrastructure, and if they do, what controls and demands do they have on those companies. Community engagement and decommissioning requirements for developers to properly dispose of outdated facilities or equipment are issues state lawmakers may need to consider in the future, Wellenkamp said. Almost pointless. Last week, hours after Burns' press conference in Wentzville, Montgomery County, residents gathered as the Missouri Rural Crisis Center announced the results of a county-wide survey of voters about the data centers in New Florence. Nearly 85% of the 1,461 people who returned surveys said they opposed the development, while almost 11% expressed support and the remainder said they were undecided. Pictured is Tom Westhoff, a member of the community group Preserve Montgomery County, LLC, speaks about the need for more transparency surrounding data center development at a press conference announcing the result of a data center survey of Montgomery City in June. And there's a woman holding a chart graph and several people behind, including a couple people wearing Stop Data Center shirts. And he is standing there in blue jeans and a tan button-down shirt. With his phone sticking out of his shirt pocket. The event took place outside Montgomery County Middle School in Montgomery City, where Amazon was holding a barbecue dinner and public information session about its data center in New Florence. Oh, and he's standing at a podium. Tom Westhoff, a retired conservation agent for Montgomery County who spoke at the event, described the potential environmental threats of data center development. He also told those gathered that the public information session came too late. An informational meeting at this time, when all the contracts have been signed and construction is already underway, is almost pointless, Westhoff said. Why were we not given the opportunity months ago to talk to the Amazon people? This story was first published at MissouriIndependent.com.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. After hearing bleak Jeff City report, SBS board to continue pushing legislative advocacy. District lobbyist Jason Zamkus reports to board about legislative session, future funding challenges for public schools by Joe Hadsall. There's a picture of the Missouri State Capitol on January 29th, 2026. After a legislative session that saw the state underfund public schools and increase funding for private ones, the Springfield Board of Education plans to keep up its increased legislative advocacy. Board members heard a legislative update during their June 23rd meeting from lobbyist Jason Zamkus, during a meeting in which both board members and employees blamed state funding as a reason for lighter raises. Board members also voiced concerns about state political pressures that affect Springfield Public Schools. Without a vote, board members expressed a consensus to further increase legislative efforts. The goal is to educate and influence lawmakers about how SPS is affected by the policies set in Jefferson City. Board President Judy Bruner, at the beginning of her comments during the meeting, said it was inherent on the board to aggressively get involved in legislative advocacy. Near the end of the discussion, though, she wanted to change that word. What I should have said was passionate. Everyone at this table is very passionate about public education and what it provides and what it does for our country and our democracy, Bruner said. We want to do all we can to get out there and tell the story of not only what's going on in Springfield Public Schools, but to share the message of what public schools have done for us. Superintendent Grenada Lathan proposed preparing for the 2027 legislative session by repeating what the district did in 2026. That includes a December session reviewing pre-filed bills with Zamkus, listing legislative priorities, and hosting visiting sessions with lawmakers. Lathan also expressed interest in getting each board member to Jefferson City during the session and exploring how to get board members to testify in favor or in opposition to bills. Flat funding but no unfunded mandates. There's a picture of outgoing State Senator Lincoln Huff, as he recalls his time as the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee on Monday, June 29, 2026, at the Hatch Auditorium in Springfield. Photo by Ellie Freistack. And in his report, Zamkus said that state lawmakers were more productive than in past years, with increases in the number of filed bills and in bills that were sent to the governor's desk. Zamkus reported on the General Assembly passing a bill that shortchanged state spending on public schools by $190 million. As promised at the beginning of the year, spending on education remained flat at $4.3 billion. Almost 2 weeks after the board's conversation, Governor Mike Kehoe vetoed almost $53 million and restricted about $441 million from that budget. Yet he kept the $60 million for private school vouchers intact. one of the few large additions to the budget, according to reporting from the Missouri Independent. That shortfall in funding turned out to be a tool for protecting public schools from bills that would have placed extra costs on them. Referencing a team of senators involved in passing a 2024 education reform package, Zamka said a coalition was formed. Members of that coalition opposed such unfunded mandates, and Senator Lincoln Huff was key in that opposition, Zamka said. He was the champion who would stand up and offer an amendment, Zamka said. If we're going to make school districts do this, it's going to into effect only if we fully fund education. That amendment went on countless bills in the Senate, and they all died. Flexing advocacy muscles more. There's a picture of Springfield Public Schools Board of Education member Dr. Miriam Mohammed Khani attending the board's reorganization study session on April 15, 2025, photo by Jim Wilson. Bruner and board member Daniel Kincaid both credited board member Miriam Mohammed Khani for first sounding an alarm 2 years ago about getting more involved in state advocacy. Mohammed Khani in 2024 sought to have SBS endorse a bill that would remove the state's assessment system and let districts pursue alternatives. We're always on the defensive every legislative session, holding our breath to see how bad the damages will be, Mohammed Khani said in January 2024. This time, the damages are going to be substantial because the school choice train is here. It is barreling through. Since then, the board and district have slowly been more involved in ensuring lawmakers hear from the state's largest public school district. SPS has hosted visits from lawmakers, invited them as guests to speak about bills, and made more trips to Jefferson City. The board has also held retreat meetings to plan its legislative agenda. The district last year also hosted officials from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, including the State Board of Education. Zamkas has worked as the district's lobbyist for 5 years. Kincaid and board member Sarah Huff both asked Zamkas for future advice about how the board can increase its messaging. If you could help us help you tell our story, which is also the story of a lot of the public schools around the area, Kincaid said. I'm happy that Representative Bill Owen has decided to come down here and visit with us, and I would encourage other elected officials to please take us up on that offer as well. Representative Owen has been tabbed as the House's next chair of the Budget Committee, pending his re-election in November. Future looks challenging for schools. Zamkas advised the board that financial challenges from this session will be multiplied next year because Missouri's fiscal affairs are not in a good state. A surplus of almost $2.9 billion will be winnowed down to about $200 billion, which is obviously going to put a lot of priorities in peril, potentially, Zamkas said. We have a significant portion of the House and Senate that are termed out, so these elections could have significant consequences and can really shape how K-12 public policy and finance are decided. Not only is state funding in question for next year, Zamka said, but legislators have an appetite for reducing property taxes across the state, even though those taxes were approved by voters who live within the district. As part of the rush to fill seats erased by term limits, new candidates make the idea part of their campaigns. I think there is still an insatiable urge to reform property taxes, which, while that's not foundation formula money from the state, it is your local effort, Zamka said. Most people that I'm talking to are campaigning on cutting property taxes, which is direct revenue for public schools and other needed local services. Later this year, a committee will make its recommendation to Kehoe for altering the foundation formula. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has complied with an executive order to move the state toward an A through F scale for accrediting school districts. An overhaul of the state's board composition and leadership also raises questions about the direction of public schools, and voters in August will decide whether to cut state income taxes, leaving future state revenue in question. Zamkas thanked the board for increasing its visibility, saying that it has helped elected officials learn about how SPS is working to be a model for public education in the state of Missouri, but he advocated for even more attention going forward. As you receive fiscal note requests on legislation, take them seriously. That's part of the reason we were as successful in stopping unfunded mandates as we were this year, he said. show the real impact that it's going to have on your district, how much it's going to cost you. That's tremendously impactful at the legislative level. Hansel is the education reporter for the Springfield Daily Citizen. Hansel has had more than 2 decades of experience reporting in the Ozarks with the Joplin Globe, Christian County Headliner News, and 417 Magazine. Contact him at 417-837-3671 or jhansel@sgfcitizen.org.
From Ozarks First, City Council repeals rezoning ordinance for medical mile apartments. Developer revises plan. Springfield, Missouri, City Council unanimously approved repealing a rezoning ordinance that paved the way for a planned apartment complex on South Maryland Avenue near Walnut Street and National Avenue. Walnut Lawn Street and National Avenue. BB Oak LLC developer Nathan Reynolds is now constructing a new scaled-down proposal for the same area. In this new plan, the complex is shortened from 4 stories to 2 stories and will feature 160 units, down from 182. Petitioner Arlene Criswell, who helped gather over 1,000 signatures to put the original apartments on the ballot, gave her thoughts on the new plan. Lowering the building certainly is a help, Criswell said. Going to just 160 units instead of 182, there's still going to be massive amounts of additional traffic, and that's been one of our biggest issues this whole time. A nearby resident, Dale Routh, also shared the same concerns over traffic. They would need to make this 4-lane road on Walnut Lawn, said Routh. The traffic circle would have to, it's tiny, so they need to widen it. It's just not going to work as it is. Arlene wasn't the only one who secured 1,150 signatures. She wanted to thank others who worked with her. We're only 8 people from my neighborhood, along with a few friends from other groups who helped us collect signatures, and we're really grateful to them for their help, Criswell said.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Jared Alexander, former Harmony House executive director, joins Care to Learn. In his new role, Alexander will focus on donor and philanthropic relations for Care to Learn, by Brian Smoot. There's a picture of Jared Alexander in a Springfield Daily Citizen file photo. He has a lavender shirt with a dark blue blazer and short brown hair. Jared Alexander, former executive director of Harmony House, who is stepping up to a development role at Care to Learn, a nonprofit organization that supports children's health, hunger, and hygiene needs. As Vice President of Development, Alexander will focus on building donor and philanthropic relations. Care to Learn was founded by Doug Pitt in 2008, focusing on the emergent needs of impoverished students and their families. The first chapter was focused in Springfield, but the organization has since expanded across Missouri and is especially active in the southern part of the state. According to previous reporting by the Daily Citizen, Alexander announced in April he was stepping down from his role at Harmony House. He began at Harmony House as Director of Development in 2019 and was later selected as Executive Director in 2022. That experience will aid in his new role, according to a news release from Care to Learn. Jared is an exceptional leader who has already made a lasting impact in our community, and we're thrilled to welcome him to the Care to Learn team, said Crystal Simon, Care to Learn CEO, in a release. Alexander credits his upbringing in Springfield and attendance in Springfield Public Schools for his view on the importance of strong schools and supportive communities for shaping the future of a child. He graduated from Missouri State University with Bachelor of Science in Recreation, Sport, and Park Administration with an emphasis in parks and outdoor recreation. As an Eagle Scout, he remains involved in the Springfield community. Brian Smoot is an intern at the Springfield Daily Citizen. He is a junior at the Missouri School of Journalism, studying journalism and political science. Contact him at bsmoot@sgfcitizen.org.
Ozark's first search for missing mother continues 1 month after Lake Springfield Dam tragedy by Stoker Wizrock. 1 month after 40-year-old Taylor Stauney and her 3 daughters went over the Lake Springfield Dam, search efforts are continuing for their only family member who has not been found. Missouri State Highway Patrol water crews say they are still conducting daily surface-level searches along the James River for Stauney, who has been missing since June 14th. Authorities say Stauney and her daughters were floating and kayaking on the afternoon of June 14th when they went over the dam. Responders rescued 12-year-old Oriel Stani, who later told Ozarks First she was able to hold on to one of the dam's pillars until help arrived. Less than 2 days later, crews recovered the bodies of Taylor Stani's daughters, Andrea and Sophie, in the James River. Missouri State Highway Patrol officials say search teams have continued expanding their search farther downstream in the James River in hopes of finding Taylor Stani. Crews have also received assistance from people who live along the river. As of Tuesday morning, Taylor Stani remains the only person still missing following the tragedy. Ozarks First will continue to follow developments in the ongoing search.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Brian Fogel, Hatch Foundation exemplifies innovation in helping nonprofit sector. Nationally, foundations now make up 19% of total giving, demonstrating dramatic growth in the past decade. And this is a picture of the 6 founding members of the Hatch Foundation. And share a love for the Springfield community. From left are Cody D'Anastasio, Aaron D'Anastasio, Kurt Hellweg, Sherry Hellweg, Tyler Hellweg, and Kate Hellweg. Photo was provided. The Giving USA 2026 report, produced annually by the Lilly School of Philanthropy at Indiana University, was just released in the past few weeks. Based on 2025 data, charitable giving by Americans increased nearly 6% over the prior year to $617 billion. That is a record in terms of real dollars, but below the 2022 level in inflation-adjusted dollars. That peak reflected our post-COVID environment where many Americans had flush savings accounts due to stimulus payments and limited means to spend them due to travel restrictions, etc. Giving by individuals remains the top segment at 64%, but giving by foundations now makes up 19% of total giving, a 70% increase over the past decade. The growth is impressive, but equally so is the innovative ways they help the nonprofit sector. In St. Louis, the Fox Clark Family Foundation was the catalyst to purchase the former St. Luke's Hospital on Del Mar that had been closed in 2013. This formerly very large and empty building in an economically challenged part of the city has been transformed into a vibrant hub for over 50 organizations, most of them nonprofits, in addition to 150 apartments. That investment has leveraged additional resources coming into the area that formerly was known as the Del Mar Divide, that made up a racial and economic line of demarcation in the city. Appropriately, the new name Del Mar Divine is a great reflection of what an investment with vision, imagination, and creativity can become. Certainly, grant making is the main tool of a foundation, but their capital can be used in other beneficial ways as well. There is a picture of the Hatch Auditorium. It says the Hatch Foundation provided the lead gift for the Hatch Auditorium, a 500-seat venue attached to the Library Center on Springfield's south side. The addition allows the Library Center to host a wide variety of events for the community. Closer to home, the Hatch Foundation is developing a center for nonprofits in Springfield. The foundation was founded in 2020, and according to their website, the 6 founding members of Hatch have been members of the Springfield community for most of their lives and all possess a dedicated love for it. With their family business of 40 years selling in November 2019, the family knew they wanted to give back to the community that supported them for so many years. Since that time, the Hatch Foundation has granted nearly $8 million, including the lead grant for the Hatch Auditorium at the Library Center and a major gift to the Art Museum expansion. NEST will provide a collaborative space for up to 13 nonprofits. Currently, they are in the development phase of the NEST, which, according to their informational material, is a collaborative workspace designed to empower Hatch's mission-centric organizations. Located in the lower level of the Hatch office building on Blackman Road, NEST will provide affordable, flexible workspace for up to 13 nonprofits whose work aligns with Hatch's mission and philanthropic priorities. The goal is to create a shared environment that fosters innovation, connection, and collective impact. Their vision for the project is that NEST will serve as home for collaboration, and capacity building where nonprofits can grow stronger together. By sharing space, resources, and expertise, NEST will nurture a thriving ecosystem of community organizations, helping Springfield reach its full potential. In addition to offices, Hatch will provide a waiting lounge area, a kitchen and communal space, and utilities, Wi-Fi, printing, and cleaning services. They are also reaching out to local universities for potential partnering internships with the nonprofits, as well as other partners who can provide additional training, such as grant writing, board training, and other nonprofit-related workshops. NEST will be conceptually like the Missouri State University e-factory that has been for entrepreneurs only for the nonprofit sector. They hope to have the facility open by next January. There's a picture of the Hatch Playground for All, located in Miller Park near Fellows Lake. It's a vibrant, fully inclusive playground designed for children of all abilities. Hatch partnered with Abilities First, City Utilities, the Kiwanis Club of Springfield South, and others on the project. CFO plans support space for nonprofits, and just within the past few weeks, the Community Foundation of the Ozarks has announced their plan for a front door for philanthropy. The plan is to turn the first floor of their building at 300 South Jefferson Avenue into a complementary and supportive space for the nonprofit sector. The renovation will include an expanded event center with an outdoor courtyard and catering kitchen, more offices and collaboration space for emerging nonprofits, and a large conference room with all the amenities available for nonprofit use. Finding meeting space for gatherings, board meetings, and small fundraisers can often be challenging and costly, and this proposed space will be open to assist the sector. Find more details and renderings of the space online. The estimated cost for the project is $8.4 million, with $4.5 million in commitments already received. As the Giving USA study shows, foundations are an important and growing source of philanthropy for our nation's nonprofits. The majority of that charitable assistance has come through traditional grants, but increasingly they look at other ways they can use their capital to help make the world better. Grants are critical for the nonprofit community, but alternative investments like Fox Clark, Hatch, and CFO can endure for many years beyond a conventional grant. An earlier column mentioned impact investing, and today we see some additional ways they can help the nonprofit sector. As our local philanthropic sector grows in capital and creativity, our community and region benefit. Brian Fogel is executive in residence at Drury University and former chief executive officer of the Community Foundation of the Ozarks. At Drury, he is helping support and develop the university's nonprofit leadership programs and connecting students with organizations to meet the needs and challenges of our community. In addition to his 15 years at leading CFO, Fogel has been active in numerous civic and nonprofit groups. He can be reached at bfogle@drury.edu.
Feemster challenged in primary in Greene County Circuit Clerk race. Springfield News Leader. County voters will see two candidates face off in the August 4th primary election for the office of Greene County Circuit Clerk. The person who oversees the back end of the 31st Circuit Court system, including the processing of cases and filing of documents. Incumbent Brian Feemster is being challenged by Shannon Pierce. Both are running as Republicans, and there are no candidates who have filed to run as Democrats in the race, meaning the Greene County Circuit Clerk is likely to be decided in August. Here's what to know about the candidates. Who is Brian Feemster? Feemster has served one term as the circuit clerk, elected for the first time in 2022 when he ran unopposed. He retired from city utilities after holding several managerial positions, including as a power plant mechanic and later director of power supply and strategic operations. This background has honed his skills for leadership and management as well as human resources types roles, which he said are a large part of the job. Pictured is Brian Feemster, who is running for re-election to continue to serve as Greene County Circuit Clerk. He will face a challenger in the primary election on August 4th, 2026. He is, looks like a taller gentleman. He is wearing a pinstripe suit with also a crossover of deeper vertical lines that are maroon on a blue and white background. He is wearing a dark navy blue tie, and his name badge around lanyard. He has no hair and has a light white goatee, and he is pictured in his office with a large American flag, a historic county picture on the wall, a large wall clock, and a reclining style chair behind him while he sits in an office chair. Since joining the circuit court, Feimster has overseen several changes from marijuana conviction expungements to new transparency rules. He was criticized last year by a group of attorneys who raised concerns about processing delays in the family court division. Feimster said with processing of cases switched over to a new software and recommendations from the Office of State Court Administration implemented, things are far better now. With the new software implemented, he said the court is coming up with a standardized set of procedures for all tasks, so newer employees have better resources. Feimster also highlighted that upon taking office, he set up a system on the court's website where people can apply for protection orders 24/7. He said relationships with advocacy groups and law enforcement have been instrumental to ensure these types of tools are accessible and useful. At the core of his desire to run for re-election are the relationships he has fostered with the staff and the public service to the public. The folks we're working with every day, the filers, they're not typically here because they want to be. They're already anxious. They don't know what to expect, and we recognize that, Feimster said. We actually want to make their day as good as it can be under the circumstances. Who is Shannon Pierce? Pierce comes from law enforcement background, having worked at both the Greene County Sheriff's Office and Missouri State Highway Patrol. This background has given him familiarity with the court systems, also contributing to the flow of protection orders in Greene County while on the Highway Patrol. Most recently, he worked at the Kitchen Inc. as the Director of Compliance and Programs. From these roles, he said he has experience in being accountable and providing transparency to show how organizations operate. Pictured is Shannon Pierce of Republic, who is running for Greene County Circuit Clerk in the August 4th, 2026 primary election. He is an older gentleman. He is with very short military-style cut, black and white peppered hair, and a white beard that is cut very short. He said he is wearing a black polo shirt with some horizontal white stripes across the chest, and black at the top, the white horizontal in the middle, and dark gray at the bottom. And he's pictured in what seems clear a hotel or restaurant lobby. He said he entered the race after being approached by the group of attorneys who raised concerns about family court and arriving at the decision with his family. Pierce said he kept hearing that nothing had changed since the family court delays were brought to light and the courts needed a new leader. Pierce already had a set action plan split up into 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days to achieve more efficiency and find areas for improvement. That plan includes everything from meeting with clerks and those interacting with the courts to improving communication and modernizing training. If elected, he said his priority will be on making the office more transparent and focused on serving the public. I'm not looking to go and step in and change the wheel, Pierce said. My main focus is to make sure that wheel is rolling correctly. Approaches to leadership, making do with limited resources. Overall, both men have a similar attitude about leading staff and said it's important for employees to know a leader wants to listen. Both Feimster and Pierce said making connections with staff and ensuring they feel comfortable sharing what is not working is essential. Like many public entities, the courts often have more needs than the resources to address them. Feimster said despite the Greene County region growing and the number of new cases increasing 18% in 3 years, the 31st Circuit has not received any additional staffing allocations from the state, with the state allocation of for staff dropping by 5%. Feimster said he has adjusted hiring processes to ensure vacant jobs don't stay vacant long, and workers with experience have a way to advance in their role. To help with some of the caseload, he has hired temporary workers in the past. Feimster also said he wants to take a measured approach to exploring ways artificial intelligence could be leveraged to help with efficiency without sacrificing quality. In seeking re-election, Feimster knows there is still much in the court's future that is unknown, but with his experience in navigating new challenges, he is confident the work will get done regardless of the task at hand. Pierce said his priority would be to ensure he knows how to do all parts of the job the circuit clerk's office provides to the public to be able to fill in when a certain division is falling behind or seeing additional workload. He also noted cross-training is essential to make sure tasks in all areas are covered during vacations or vacancies. Pierce emphasized the need to work from all rungs of the hierarchy, being just as involved in the managerial parts of the job as the more day-to-day duties of the clerks themselves. That's the big thing, making sure the staff knows day one that not only am I there to support them, but I'm there to work alongside them, he said. Marta Mees covers local government at the News Leader. Have feedback, tips, or story ideas? Contact her at mmieze@news-leader.com.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Celebrate Springfield, a month-long series of events to kick off in September by Jack McGee. A handful of local organizations are putting together a month filled with events this September to celebrate and recognize the accomplishments and beauty of Springfield. The initiative is led by the Hatch Foundation, a local nonprofit, family-operated organization geared toward helping Springfield achieve its full potential. After the Dar family sold their businesses, which included manufacturers Isonova, International Dehydrated Foods, and American Dehydrated Foods in 2019, the family behind the Hatch Foundation sought to redefine themselves and their impact in Springfield. Aaron D'Anastasio is the executive director of the Hatch Foundation and a vocal advocate of the opportunities and potential Springfield has to offer. Springfield has been my home for pretty much my entire life, D'Anastasio said. All of us live here and all of us are very committed to the community. So we decided that a unique opportunity and what kind of seemed like the low-hanging fruit is to focus on the inherent attributes of Springfield, kind of like the blue ribbon pieces. If you don't focus on the blue ribbon, it will eventually fall into a red flag problem with our community. That's not to say that the Hatch Foundation doesn't put any emphasis on red flag problems, however. They put roughly 20% of their annual grant funding toward issues such as food insecurity and homelessness, according to D'Anastasio. In a partnership with the City of Springfield, the Community Foundation of the Ozarks, and the Downtown Springfield Association, among others, they're hoping to take an opportunity to showcase Springfield's best elements and celebrate the city's achievements. The Hatch Foundation is building an online filter that will eventually debut on the Celebrate Springfield website, where people can search for nearby activities that accommodate different schedules and budgets. Additionally, the foundation and partners will host a number of events during the weekends of September. What's happening at Celebrate Springfield? Although times and dates are not yet official, some events could possibly include a Springfield Cardinals game, Cider Days, September 17th through the 18th, and the Jazz Festival, plus additional locations where activities will be held, including the Dickerson Park Zoo, Fellows Lake, and Fantastic Caverns. The Hatch Foundation aims to make these events accessible to all Springfieldians by addressing monetary and education barriers that could inhibit community members from participating or even being aware of local amenities. While not all of the activities currently planned are free, conversations are being held about discounts and forms of public transportation to and from events. It can be intimidating for a family who is unsure where some of these amenities are and or how to access the activities, or for those without transportation. An important part of Celebrate Springfield will be addressing those barriers, including any costs associated with participating, D'Anastasio said. As a culmination of the month-long celebration on October 2nd from noon to 4 p.m., Celebrate Springfield will cap things off with a party at Jordan Valley Park featuring games, food trucks, and live music. I'm hoping that Celebrate Springfield will really open everybody's eyes to all of the inherent attributes that we have right at our fingertips and to help them see how great our city is, D'Anastasio said. We are so thankful to the Hatch Foundation and for Aaron for recognizing this opportunity and having a kind heart for others, said Mayor Ken McClure in a news release. We have a lot to be proud of in Springfield, and her work to ensure that all citizens are aware of our outdoor amenities and can take advantage of them is very commendable. To receive updates on Celebrate Springfield as details become available, join their email list. Jack McGee is a general assignment reporter at the Springfield Daily Citizen with a focus on regional politics. McGee most recently worked at Carbon Trace Productions, a documentary film company, as a producer. He's a Missouri State University graduate and former reporter at student-led newspaper The Standard.
This last article is going to be from the Springfield Business Journal. Ozark Tech expands dental hygiene program by 40%. Pictured is Ozark Technical Community College expanding its dental hygiene program by 40% through new partnership and funding. And there looks like a student looking at or someone in black scrubs. There we go. Staring at the computer screen along with someone else in blue, a gentleman with glasses, and she is helping along. And there's dental equipment behind them, chairs, and things for them to use. To help meet the demand for healthcare professionals in Southwest Missouri, Ozark Technical Community College will expand its dental hygiene program by 40% through a new partnership with Jordan Valley Health and the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. The partnership includes $100,000 in state funding to expand with new equipment, instructor training, and instructional support at Jordan Valley facilities. The investment will increase student access to hands-on clinical training. Dental professionals are in high demand, and this partnership allows us to train more students to fill those roles, said Ozark Tech Chancellor Hal Higdon in a news release. Training more graduates helps increase access to quality dental care in our communities. With approval from the Commission on Dental Accreditation, Ozarks Tech plans to add 8 student seats to the dental hygiene program, increasing annual capacity from 20 to 28 students starting in fall 2027.
The time is 12 p.m.
The competitive 2-year program leads to an associate degree and prepares students for licensure through classroom, lab, and clinical training, the release said. The expansion will begin with 4 additional slots at the college's Table Rock campus in Hollister. Students in the cohort will complete laboratory and clinical training at Jordan Valley Health's Hollister location. Ozarks Tech said an additional 4 seats will be added in Springfield, with students completing laboratory and clinical instruction at Jordan Valley facilities there. At Jordan Valley Health, our mission is to improve our community's health through access and relationships, said Ashley Popejoy, Chief Dental Officer at Jordan Valley Health, in the release. This collaboration with OTC is a testament to the advancement of our mission. Through this relationship, we will not only increase opportunities to educate and train dental hygienists, but simultaneously increase access to high-quality dental care in our communities. Megan Crone, Chief Dental Consultant with the Office of Dental Health, said the state was happy to support the expansion of innovation in dental hygiene training. Oral health is overall health, Crone said in the release. A sustainable, well-trained oral health workforce is vital to providing Missourians with the resources they need to achieve optimal oral health. According to the American Dental Association's Health Policy Institute, staffing remains a top concern for dentists, with only about 60% reporting adequate hygienist staffing. In the 2024 to 25 academic year, all Ozarks Tech dental hygiene graduates reported staying in Missouri, stepping straight into jobs with an average starting salary of $86,210. All graduates also passed their national, state, and clinical exit exams, including the ADEX dental examination and the National Board of Dental Health examination, according to Ozarks Tech.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.